Welcome to the first best of 5 of the evening. We are on Sequencer, the first map. And spawning to the bottom left hand corner in red, playing Protoss. It's Piscolita. And to the top right in yellow, playing Protoss, we have Jailbreaker. Already sending out a probe in order to scout something, or maybe in order to cannon rush. Pylon is already down, and it's not in front of the ramp, so could actually see a forge here, but we see a usual gateway expand. Or gateway into gas, and then maybe even into cybernetics core before eventually expanding. Quite interesting that... oh, actually, never mind, Piscolita has Protoss as well. So, of course, you don't really need to wall off the ramp. I don't know what I was thinking. I was still thinking of the lot of PVZs we saw yesterday. And I think more to come today. No, probably. No, actually, yeah, we have one more PVZ at least. So, yeah, was just thinking about that. So, of course, no need to wall off whatsoever. No cannon rush shenanigans, though, either. Piscolita, of course, still a little bit suspicious about the early probe scout here. Is expecting some sort of proxy shenanigans. Was probably expecting the one probe to just be a distraction, while a second probe was trying to sneak in. So Piscolita making very, very sure with this probe that no proxy is being built anywhere close to her base. In proximity, you could even say, hence the name proxy build. So we actually get a forge right behind it. That's a bit unusual for the typical Protoss nowadays, but we've seen Jailbreaker using static defense still quite a lot, like in the old Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm days, although even then using photon cannons in PvP, except for cannon rushing, was not as common. But yeah, we've seen her building a lot of photon cannons in all her other matchups so far, so she probably just wants to stay true to her style. And there you can see it, already planting down a photon cannon will of course help a lot against Oracle builds and maybe even adepts, so it's not a bad thing to do in general. But of course you sacrifice 150 minerals for static D that will not help you later when you plan to push your opponent, because photon cannons, unfortunately, cannot unroot and walk across the map. So no way to do that. In the meantime, we have Piscolita walking out with a Stalker, still checking for different angles here, and now moving towards her opponent's base, bringing some more light onto the map. I actually like this maneuver quite a lot, I have to say. We'll now find Jailbreaker's probe over here. This probe is probably going to die, especially once the second Stalker is going to join. But of course, this scouting probe now, this passive scouting probe now tells Piscolita, tells Jailbreaker that 2 Stalkers are on their way towards her. So she already had her own 2 Stalkers in position, has to retreat for now, sends down the other probe, maybe even though for checking, or if she... I don't know, does this probe just wants to check something, or probably thinks she just wanted to have it here in order to expand a little bit later, but just wanted to be safe. Okay, will not really do any damage, Piscolita it is. There's a mothership core with energy available. We also have a pylon here, and there will be a third Stalker out in just a few seconds, so Piscolita can only poke and prod a little bit, but will have to retreat in just a little while. I mean, 3 Stalkers, the same problem. Third Stalker is already out, plus the Photon Overcharge. So of course Piscolita could... Maybe that's the thing she wants to do here, force out a Photon Overcharge. Nice little Stalker micro here, always trying to retreat with the wounded one. But yeah, like I said, this will only work for so long, just distracting her opponent a little bit, maybe making her mess up her build because of the early pressure. But like I said, you cannot really hold this for all too long. And now even Jailbreaker with the high ground advantage, Piscolita just checking for whatever comes back down here. And there's the 4th Stalker as well. Has to be careful now with the photon cannon here. Quite interesting position for photon cannon. And now, unfortunately, she even gets sandwiched. All of her Stalkers getting caught by all of these Stalkers around here. 2 Stalkers have already fallen, the 3rd one will die as well. Maybe even the 4th one. Oh my god, a little bit of miss micro here by Piscolita, unfortunately for her, even losing another one. So that was a great engagement there for Jailbreaker. Surprisingly enough, she's still behind in supply. Nexus, in the meantime, going down for Piscolita. Piscolita was trying to contain her opponent for a little bit while expanding right behind it. Is now going into Blink, but Blink will take a little bit of time. In the meantime, she's already starting to produce a few Immortals, which will help tremendously against Stalker-based pushes, which Piscolita can actually expect to come her way. So Jailbreaker sending out a troop of Stalkers with a probe, probably in order to plant down a proxy forward pylon. Pylons, unfortunately, not as good as they were in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, since you cannot warp in at the same speed at a normal pylon. A pylon will have to be accompanied by a gateway in order to provide fast warp-ins, but you get warp-ins nevertheless, even though they take a little bit longer, making the defender's advantage even more significant here for the defending player. And after sending in the scouting probe once more, Jailbreaker realizes, nope, no way I can force my way in here, I'll better retreat and take a base of my own, trying to saturate it as best as I can. But Piscolita having a significant lead already in workers, in army supply, and also in tech, I dare say, since the Robo and Twilight Council are just about to complete. So Piscolita in the meantime moving forward with her 2 Immortals and the Stalkers. No special timing really here, but the Blink will finish in just a short while and the Warp Prism will be on its way too. So Piscolita will have the chance to actually reinforce her army at the front. We have a Mothership Core and some Stalkers here, but of course the ramp is pretty much undefended, so Piscolita could actually just, if she wanted to do that, walk up the ramp, which we will probably do from right on here. That's of course the problem if you take your base back here, that your ramp is not defended at the same time. So, like I said, I mean, Piscolita could just walk up in here and wreak havoc. Very unfortunately for her that she does not have a sentry here, which would be just deadly at that point in time. Maybe that is what she's fearing, but of course, there they are. There we have the sentries, and now she can just walk up the ramp and close it, and then that will be it. Sorry to say that, but where's the force field? There it is, and here we go. Yeah, not much that Jailbreaker can do if Piscolita pays attention and just keeps these force fields up for quite some time. She has 4 sentries, which means she can actually keep this blocked forever, and eventually leaving a few of these units in, killing them off one by one, while killing the important tech structures. While the only thing that Jailbreaker can do at the moment is producing units inside the main base. Okay, Stalker's not trying to get up the ramp. Piscolita not paying attention, or is she? Or does she not have another... Oh, actually it seems as if her sentries have lost all the energy, but it does not really matter at all. Most of the army is already dead. 51 army supply to 16. And all of them standing right inside Jailbreaker's base. These few zealots with speed will not do the trick, might even be able to take out that Immortal, but it will not matter in the long run. GG, and Piscolita takes the first map. Defender's Landing is the map of choice for Jailbreaker here. And we can see her to the top right hand corner in yellow, while her opponent, Piscolita, who's leading 1-0, finds herself spawning at the bottom left location. Defender's Landing, kind of an interesting map. You have a very wide open main base here, with a natural base pretty close, and an entrance you can actually seal with this cooling tower over here, which would only open this path into your base. Make it a little bit longer in order to get there, because you would just have to walk down this ramp and then come up here, and then of course you will have the defender's advantage on top of the ramp. But of course have to be careful to actually take it down. It's only 500 hit points, so always a good way to make it a little bit more difficult for the opponent to get inside your natural. So double gateway opening for Piscolita. Well, we only have one gateway and probably a cybernetics core right behind it for Jailbreaker. So maybe we will see an Adept opening by Piscolita. A little bit unlikely since Piscolita really likes her Stalkers. She plays with Stalkers a lot. So Piscolita again just checking all the dark corners of her main base. Does not want to fall to any sort of proxy shenanigans there. So Probe retreating, returning to the home base, while the Cybernetics core is in construction. And now we'll see, once the Cybernetics core is done, what it's going to be, but like I said, is going to be an Adept opening. What do we have in store for Jailbreaker? Only one Stalker so far, we'll probably produce another one straight after that, and the Forge, so same build as before with a second gateway, just finishing, and might now try to take a base of her own a little bit later on. Piscolita actually getting a high in resources, will probably use the 400 in order to expand in just a little bit, while Jailbreaker is preparing her expand with a pylon. A little bit more conservative, wants to secure the position first before she actually takes it. So there are the Adepts, just streaming. Okay, actually, unfortunately for Jailbreaker, she's not realizing what was, or was not realizing what was going on, so the Adepts can just freely shade into the natural base and kill the probe that was waiting there for the 400 minerals to arrive. Now shading into the main base, but there is a pylon in position, plus another Stalker, plus another Stalker. So eventually it seems as if Piscolita will unfortunately lose all of her Adepts for only a little bit of scouting information and one probe there. So that was totally not worth it. Trying to deal some more damage with an Oracle right behind it. We'll probably try to fly it in from back here, coming in from this angle, and then just activate it. But there will be a photon cannon in place, not very close to it. I mean, you will all still probably be able to get some of these workers next to the assimilator with the Oracle without the photon cannon being able to attack you. But yeah, there's 2 photon cannons around, so quite difficult actually to get in there. But yeah, these are 300 minerals, so these 300 minerals will of course delay that Nexus for quite some time, and that is the reason why we see Piscolita's Nexus almost done. But Jailbreaker in the meantime sent her 3 Stalkers across the map in order to put some pressure on Piscolita. Unfortunately went too close to that pylon here and now has to flee from the photon overcharge, losing a Stalker in the process, while the rest of the 2 Stalkers are chasing. But of course the Oracle now being revealed to Jailbreaker if she was paying attention. Like I said, I don't really think she will be too worried since she already has the photon cannons in place, but the better position for photon cannons in order to get the Oracle into more trouble is around here, somewhere right between the Nexus and the mineral patches. Will make it more difficult for the Oracle to come closer to any probe in order to take it down. Might still suffer some losses since Oracles kill workers very quickly. So even if the Oracle takes 1 or 2 shots, it might still be able to take down like 2 to 3 workers in the process before having to fly out if it doesn't want to get killed. So here we go, 1. Yeah, but like I said, still a kind of a good position. It's very difficult to find the sweet spot like around here, where you will be able to shoot all the probes without the Oracle being hit. But yeah, it didn't quite work out for Piscolita here. Unfortunately, all of her attempts to deal some early damage to her opponent did not work out the way she wanted to be. Still severely in the lead with 64 supply to 41, 22 army supply and 40 workers. So having all the aces up her sleeve. And yeah, Jailbreaker has to play catch up of some kind, now getting the Twilight Council here, while Piscolita already has all the necessary bits and pieces, transitioning into a lot of Phoenixes here. So Probe walking in, brave Probe there, wanting to get a good scout off. But the Stalkers finish its life fairly soon. So Jailbreaker having a probe down here. Don't know if it's just for checking this base over here, probably, or if it also might want to throw down a proxy pylon here. But it's probably mostly in there just for getting the Oracle getting denied by those Stalkers once more. How many kills does it have right now? And there, 1 kill only, and there the Phoenixes fly in, but of course, again, there's a photon cannon in place. But yeah, that's the good thing with Phoenixes. If you can stay active with them, they will always be a unit around that you can just pick up and kill. So, good Phoenix players with a lot of control and a lot of APM can make good use of these pesky little flyers, no problem. So again, it's going to be a charge build, maybe with a lot of zealots later on, because we already have a lot of gateways here, and well, not too much gas banked up. So yeah, killing the probe, getting the third nexus. So Jailbreaker now knows that her opponent wants to transition into a third base, is probably not going for all too crazy an attack. So that should give her a little bit of comfort maybe, but of course she also has to take a third pretty quickly if she doesn't want to fall behind even further than she already is. That's why Piscolita was actually parking over here, waiting for a probe to come down that she might have been able to pick off. So that might actually be an interesting thing here. No, or maybe not. I don't know. It seems as if she just wants to scout for proxy buildings somewhere. Because I just was thinking that she might go for a ninja base, and that would have been actually really interesting. But for now it seems she just wants to check for typical proxy locations. Sending the Phoenixes to the right-hand side, maybe wants to fly in once more, wants to look for another kill on these probes, but there has another cannon being built, so I think Piscolita will not really be able to deal that much damage. Has to be careful not to lose that one Phoenix over here. And yeah, Jailbreaker, it seems, just wants to check for proxy buildings herself and for hidden bases. That is probably what this scout is for. Now the scouting pattern has been revealed. We'll eventually find that third base down here, which is just the normal third base you would expect. And only now Jailbreaker is starting her own third base, going into Speedlot Archon, mostly. A very potent ground force, we have to say, and especially good against Phoenixes. But yeah, Piscolita never actually planned to commit to too many Phoenixes or to a heavy Phoenix play. Just wanted to have 4 of those out in order to kill workers in one lift. So, 1 pylon down here for scouting purposes as well. The army is moving towards the third base. Jailbreaker smells her opportunity to take down an important mining base and cripple the economy of Piscolita, getting herself back into the game. She needs to deal some damage here, but she has some heavy damage dealer inside, and the speedlots as well can deal tremendous amounts of damage. Cannon gets taken out, but in the meantime the Stalkers arrive. Stalkers actually alone not that good against Zealot Archon. But now we have the Immortals and the Stalkers firing at most of these units, and Jailbreaker has to warp out using the recall ability of the Mothership Core. Still losing a Stalker that was moving towards the front. A little bit late there. So Piscolita in the meantime making the best of the Oracle by spending the energy on stasis wards all over the map. Always a good way to scout incoming pushes and also delay them for a little bit once the units get trapped inside the stasis ward, while Piscolita is mostly using her Phoenixes in order to get some more scouting information. And Jailbreaker is building the heavy blue army. Power overwhelming. Sending them towards the third, so Phoenix still not really want to come in and try to kill any more of these workers. Yeah, upgrades better for Jailbreaker. I especially like that she went for the shield upgrades, since she wanted to go into a lot of Archons anyways, and Archons are mostly shield. 350 shield points while only 10 armor points. So an Archon pretty tanky and can actually return to a fight with full health after having been almost dead in like no time, because shields regenerate fairly quickly when out of an engagement. So getting a Warp Prism, Piscolita that is, probably wants to go for an all-out assault. Or maybe for some harassment, we never know. Piscolita in the meantime transitioning into Colossi. Colossi not as potent as they used to be in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. Both ladies actually not really trying to deal that much damage to each other, mostly leaving each other alone and building up heavily. Seems as if both of them do not really want to risk too early an engagement, they might lose and thus lose the game. So, armies moving forward. Piscolita should know where it is. Or did these phoenixes not see it? I don't really think so. I think they should have seen it, right? Well, at least now they do. So the army is moving towards the third. Piscolita has already established a fourth, while Jailbreaker's fourth is still waiting. And there the first stasis ward worked out fairly well. So now the army closes in, might actually be able to just kill a big chunk of these units before they can actually even come close to the rest of the army. Piscolita having a few Archons herself that will actually tank the first shots of the opponent's Archons. And then of course she has way more firepower right behind it. Would easily obliterate the army, and that is what Jailbreaker realizes, so she retreats as soon as possible, but Piscolita smells the weakness of Jailbreaker, trying to get on her right here and now, and I think this engagement should be a decisive win for our Protoss player from Chile. GG, and Piscolita takes the lead 2-0. Proxima Station is our third map. We have Piscolita to the bottom left and Jailbreaker to the top right. She's down 0-2. Let's see if she wants to go for something different than the last two games. Wanted to make her Zealot Archon mix work in some way, but it never actually worked out the way she wanted it to do. Gateway first, and gas right behind it, so it seems as if she at least wants to go for the same opening. Does not necessarily need, that she will transition into the same army composition afterwards, but it's fairly likely. So Proxima Station, one of the older maps in the map pool from last season, having a back pocket expansion ready, or a front natural if you want to take that and be more aggressive towards your opponent. Again, Piscolita doing a good job of checking all the dark corners of her main and back pocket expansion, because she does not really want to be cannon rush, and there is actually a cannon rushable position down here where you can just start the cannon rush and cover your cannons you want to place up here later on. So, good check there by Piscolita, always being safe than sorry. So, second gateway after the Cybernetics core. We'll probably see Stalkers afterwards, while it's still double gateway opening for Piscolita, with two gases already, so we might see Adepts once more, but no, with the two gas, I just wanted to say that it's more likely that we will see two Stalkers, and actually the two Adepts didn't really work out for her in the second game, so I would have really been surprised had we seen two Adepts once more. Mothership core is out. First Stalker as well. Maybe another one getting chrono boosted. No, other one over here. So, might even change the chrono boost back to her Nexus. So, Piscolita already has her first two Stalkers out. We'll go scouting with them. Maybe apply a little bit of pressure. Not really that much possibility to apply pressure to her opponent, especially since she will have two Stalkers out herself. But I think a better position to park them would be around here. Actually quite interesting there, Piscolita not going straight towards her opponent's base, but uses her Stalkers to check other typical proxy locations here. And that might actually cost her a first Stalker, since the first two Stalkers are already on their way. So Piscolita's Stalker has to retreat for now, since in the second one and the third one as well. So maybe she actually wants to take the fight at some point. So let's see who wins the micro wars. This Stalker is already pretty much in the yellow. So 3 Stalkers now against 2. Piscolita has to make sure that her wounded Stalker will not get shot down, but instead Jailbreaker losing another one. So eating my words here, while she's now gathering her forces on top of her ramp with the mothership core close by in order to photon overcharge that pylon should the Stalkers come in close. Yeah, and that was what she was waiting for. A little bit too quick there with the photon overcharge. Should have waited for the Stalkers to walk in a little bit more before she actually fired up that pylon. That might have actually taken out one of these Stalkers at least. Fourth Stalker incoming as well. Piscolita might again want to try to contain her opponent for a little bit. Unfortunately, containing does not really matter on this map so much, since you still have this back pocket expansion available. But again, Piscolita way earlier with her own expansion, while Jailbreakers has just started. We see Piscolita's Nexus finishing right as I speak. So yeah, like I said, Piscolita just having a few Stalkers out here, so once the army of Jailbreaker moves out, she will see that immediately. But I think the economic advantage should show in just a few seconds here. So now with Piscolita having an observer in place, she will even be able to shoot from down here. So has of course seen the sentries here, knows that she cannot risk to walk up that ramp and get her force split into two parts, which then can be easily taken out by the remaining Stalkers on top of the ramp. But of course she has the observer still in place, can send it into the base and get all the necessary scouting information she could ever want. So, early forge being used for an early upgrade, while we have a good saturation already for Piscolita at her natural base, while Jailbreakers is still building. So if we just have a look at the income tab, it's actually not as decisive as one would have thought, which is quite interesting, because Piscolita has good saturation here and a very good saturation over here already, while her opponent is just on 16 worker saturation, but now finally we can see the difference with a few workers being transferred. Still 34 workers for both of them, so seems as if Jailbreaker this time around can stay in touch with her opponent, can stay even. So Piscolita free to scout everything she wants, no observer for Jailbreaker so far, so no way to see this little flying thing over there and shoot it down. Piscolita going for Blink once more. Like I said before, she loves her Stalkers and has gotten a good routine with them already. Immortals moving in place. Again, it's... no, never mind, that was the +1 upgrade, but this time around Jailbreaker will have some Immortals herself. So, like I said, same opening, but it seems as if she wants to switch into something else. And Piscolita obviously wants to get rid of excessive gas later on in the game. Probably wants to build Archons out of High Templars rather than DTs, which is always a bit questionable, I feel. I mean, you usually don't really want to have Storm later on in the game, unless, of course, your opponent goes for heavy Void Ray forces. But Storm itself does not work that well against Protoss, although of course it's still providing damage. So that's why you usually morph your High Templars into Archons. Archons made out of High Templars are a little bit less heavy on the minerals, but more heavy on the gas, while DTs cost the same amount of gas and minerals. And since later on in the game minerals are usually not the problem, DTs often seem to be the better way to get to Archon tech. And of course you can always use your DTs on their own. You can always send them for harassment, can use a warp prism in order to send them out. Jailbreaker in the meantime checking for all the proxy locations once more. I like this, although I think sending two probes out is overdoing it a little bit. I mean, 2 probes is a lot of mining time being lost there. So that's why I actually prefer DTs in order to make Archons. But of course, that's also something to keep in mind. The Templar Archive builds a lot more quickly than the Darkshrine does. So if you feel you are in a hurry and need to have Archons as soon as possible, then of course a Templar Archive might be the best choice. So, but there we have them. Piscolita now using some Adepts in order to do some harassment inside Jailbreaker's base. And now imagine, those 4 adepts were 4 DTs. That would just be awful for Jailbreaker here. Although I have to say that these 4 adepts will also be pretty problematic, but yeah. Shading into the main, while still killing workers over here. 7 have already died. In the meantime, the main force of Jailbreaker stands down here, not really doing anything, since she's too busy defending at home. So the warp prism also still in place, could still just warp in a few more units here, and now the whole army seems to have to retreat in order to take down all of these harassing forces, which is very annoying, of course. We have a pylon over here, probably just to block this fourth from being taken without Jailbreaker noticing it. And of course you could also use it for some sort of harassment warp in from the left-hand side. Since her main force is coming from the right-hand side, I don't really think she will lose it. She will use it for... well, of course, actually she could. She could just warp in here and then just send the reinforcements over here. But like I said, it's a slow warp in, so that's usually not what you want to do. Piscolita, in the meantime, having a lot of observers out on the map, so she knows what's coming while Jailbreaker does not know that her opponent knows. Don't know if Piscolita actually wants to fight inside that choke. Might more likely want to get her opponent into that choke before attacking, or just use the open space in order to overwhelm her opponent with masses. Don't know if she could actually do this. I mean, we have kind of similar army composition on both sides. We have a few more immortals, I feel, for Jailbreak, for Piscolita here, but still, I mean, zealots rip through stalkers fairly easily. That's why Piscolita probably warped in a lot of adepts in order to deal better with the light units that zealots are. So I bet you never underestimate a lot of speedlots that suddenly charge upon your army. A lot of players died because they underestimated the mighty power of the zealot storming right towards you. But yeah, with those many adepts around, it shouldn't be a problem to fend these zealots off. So in the meantime, both players on 3 bases. Again, once more, Piscolita had her 3rd base a lot quicker than her opponent. She seems as if she also wants to transition into a 4th at the gold base, but the pylon will block it for now. Piscolita realizes it. Blinks back with a few stalkers, takes the pylon out, while the rest of the army is moving forward. A little bit of a risky maneuver here. If Jailbreaker had actually forced an engagement right now, Piscolita would have had a lot of fighting units less than she could have. So, actually, that's a good amount of supply. That's like the supply difference here between the 2 players. So that could have actually been a big mistake. But again, it seems as if Piscolita might actually have the advantage here. She has better upgrades. Not all of these units are fighting. The adepts now shading forwards. Seems as if most of the zealots are already dead. The remaining forces just have to retreat into the choke point close to the base. But actually now she's fighting in a really bad spot there. Huge concave there for Piscolita, and she just takes out the forces easy peasy, no problem whatsoever. Jailbreaker can only sit and watch as her own units die. Finally, Colossus joins the frame, but it does not matter anymore. GG, and Piscolita takes the series 3-0.